Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Alex Dworkin, and I'm a managing partner at 4D Capital. We specialize in a very unique mathematical approach to the stock market, which allows us to calculate the market in multidimensional space. And when we do, essentially perfect order emerges, and we can make very accurate projection for the overall stock market or individual equities in both time and price. We use the same mathematical calculations to also make projections and their application to geopolitical events. Of particular importance, and as the series indicates, is the war that is coming up, or nuclear exchange, I should say, between Russia and China alliance and NATO members. Okay, so our projections. Well, let me close this, and you can take a look at our book. So, by the way, we're dropping a new book, an updated version of this book. This book was written in 2014. It is prophetic in many respects. In all respects, as a matter of fact, and we are updating the book, and we're going to drop the new version of it probably at some point next week. So what this book talked about, not only did it give an exact date of a nuclear upcoming exchange, which remains the same, summer of 2029, but it also indicated what would happen in terms of geopolitical structure of the world, and all of those events have been developing over the last couple of years. And where we are today is essentially exactly where that book projected we're going to be. So once again, the war has already started. It is just being represented in different formats around the world. So if we look at Russia versus Ukraine, it is in the kinetic stage. If we look at, for example, the West versus Iran, and it is going back and forth. There's a lot of cold wars around the world. North Korea, Iran, obviously. There's a lot of things that are going on. Economic war against China. All of a sudden, I'm forgetting all of them when I began to talk about it. But nevertheless, point being is that World War III has already started in many respects. Okay, what we're talking about is the conclusion of World War III, and its conclusion is going to be entirely the nuclear exchange, once again, between Russia and China alliance and NATO members in summer of 2029, August to be more specific. And I'll talk about our mathematical calculations. Actually, I already have. Okay, so we talked about the war cycle, the 84-year war cycle, and we talked about their stock market cycle, and them coming together in summer of 29, projecting a major economic top for worldwide economy, and then an entire collapse. And of course, we talked about the 84-year war cycle associated with America, and you can find those discussions in the description of this video. I'm not going to go into details. I'm simply going to say that they come together in summer of 2029, and that's exactly when our work projects a nuclear exchange between the aforementioned parties that will essentially destroy the entire northern hemisphere. So the purpose of this broadcast is to make people aware, number one. Number two is to guide you into that time frame by following recent events and essentially providing analysis of what's going on and what it all means. And perhaps more importantly, discussing some of the ways that you can protect yourself and your family, and to avoid the fate that awaits most of us. Okay, the last portion we're going to be talking about more and more as time develops. Probably we're going to start it next couple of weeks. So today we're just going to follow current events. We're going to see very important geopolitical events that are happening today, how to interpret them, and what that means for the overall world. Okay, I had a couple of not important questions, but it's the same type of question. Why don't you structure your broadcast in such a way where we perhaps can prevent this from happening? Unfortunately, we cannot prevent it from happening. Our government, the United States government, has been compromised all from top to bottom. As you can see, it has been it is being controlled by a foreign nation as we speak, foreign governments, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about any of it. So as the Bible prophesies, higher power is going to have to come in, destroy the world, and essentially clear the docket, so to speak, and for us to start over. So all we can do is I can foretell it, I can project current events and tell you what's going to happen in the future. hopefully help you avoid this unfortunate fate that is coming for most of us, and then we can rebuild from there. So all we can do is we can prepare and rebuild. We cannot, unfortunately, change the current situation in any way. So just a very quick mention on the subject matter. So let's jump into it. So as you know, yesterday there was a very important announcement that Putin and Trump held a phone conversation, and they decided to meet in Hungary probably over the next, I would imagine, next 2 weeks. And from our perspective, this is a very important, but the same, it is a non-event because it lines up with everything we've been talking about it. And of particular importance, as you know, we've been talking about our 84-year war cycle, and we've been talking about the December 13th of this year as being a very important time marker and for the United States, and being a very important marker in terms of something possibly happening during that period of time. Perhaps the conflict escalates quite significantly going forward, and I talked about over the last couple of days the fact that there could be a possible direct exchange between Russia and the United States, and it is possible that this particular exchange is going to be one way or another some sort of a nuclear exchange. Now, this is not going to be the big one. The big one's going to be in summer of 2029, but this is going to be a very important marker that perhaps will shift the United States fighting the war against Russia with its proxy Ukraine towards the United States fighting this war against Russia directly through NATO. Okay, so once again, December 13th, and just a very quick mention. So this 84-year war cycle, and December 13th in particular, has to do with Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. As you know, there was a very important date in American history. That's when the United States officially entered World War II, and this date is coming up. Okay, so I gave many examples of the cycle, including September 11th. I talked about June 22nd of this year, and many other instances where this cycle shows up. And once again, this is going to be a very important marker. So in terms of going back to Putin and Trump, the reason let me go through the headlines very quickly. So obviously they're gonna meet. This particular article talks about how the aggressive negotiation technique of Trump against Russia and supposed criminal mob boss Putin is designed specifically to strong-arm Russia and Putin into some sort of a deal with Ukraine, some sort of a surrender perhaps. And I talked yesterday that that's an absolute impossibility, and at the same time this is jeopardizing the entire world. I don't think Trump is aware of what's going on. I don't think Trump is aware of what's going on in Ukraine. A couple of days ago he talked about that Russia lost over 1 million troops, that Russia is losing on the ground, and this is all Kellogg, one of his advisor, Kellogg, talk points, right? So if you follow the conflict and you follow what's going on in Ukraine, you very well know that Russia is advancing on all front, on the entire front line, which is, I believe, 1,400 miles. It nearly has destroyed the entire Ukrainian military. It is taking few casualties, as a matter of fact. So if Trump is discussing those talking points, he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. So he's trying to strong-arm a nation with over 8,000 nuclear weapons on the docket into some sort of a deal, and Russia very well understands that any sort of peace deal or even ceasefire with Ukraine means that they're going to be able to regroup and rearm, and when they're ready, then NATO will continue its proxy war against Russia. So obviously they don't want to do anything with that. But of this particular point, it's very important to understand that what Trump is doing is he's playing chicken with Russia. But in this case, this is the stupidest possible thing he can do, because he's playing nuclear chicken with Russia, okay, by possibly supplying Tomahawk missiles coming into Ukraine. And you know, this spectator is talking about, has Trump fallen into Putin's trap again? Absolutely not. So the reason they're meeting, You have to understand it very much. This is the last meeting before a real conflict begins between Russia and directly with the United States, directly with NATO, you can argue, not through its proxy, Ukraine. What they had in Alaska a couple of weeks ago, or I think it's been perhaps a couple of months already, 2 months, was a meeting that obviously didn't go anywhere. When we talked about it at that time, that it's not going to go anywhere. But what this is perhaps not a direct declaration of war, but what they're going to talk about is they're going to talk about the Tomahawk missiles going into Ukraine and the United States being directly involved in shooting those Tomahawk missiles into Russia. And I talked about over the last couple of days, this is a deal breaker for Russia because those Tomahawk missiles can be nuclear tipped, right? And Russia will not know, for example, when Ukraine shoots it towards Moscow or shoots it towards St. Petersburg or any other Russian city, Russia does not know whether that missile is carrying a nuclear weapon or not. And what do you do? How do you respond to that? Do you launch a nuclear attack in the United States, on the European Union, on a basis? What do you do? And I think that's what they're going to discuss. And Trump is going to attempt to strong arm Putin into accepting some sort of a peace deal, which is not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because Russia has outlined its points of a peace process with NATO and with Russia, with the United States a long time ago. And that includes essentially NATO backing away from Ukraine and letting Ukraine be in the Russian sphere of influence, okay? And that's not going to happen from the American side, okay? Nobody's even talking about it. It's not even a talking point at this juncture. So what's going to happen? Well, Trump is going to say, listen, you either stop the war and we can negotiate, or we're going to supply Tomahawk missiles. And Putin is going to say, well, no, you need to back away and you need to stop supplying Ukraine right now, and then we can have some sort of a negotiation. That has been the Russian talking point for since this whole thing, this operation began. And they're going to walk away with those talking points in place, and nothing's going to change. And that is going to set precedent for Trump supplying Tomahawk missiles. And once they do, all hell is going to break loose. And that's what I'm talking about, that December 13th time turning point. That's when everything lines up for perhaps the United States. I talked about a possible decapitation attempt on Russia. Trump is stupid enough to pull something like that. And it's a travesty, it's a treason against the United States, and it's a treason against the people of the United States. I shouldn't say I didn't vote for him, but I didn't vote, as a matter of fact, at all, because I understand how the game is played. But in this particular situation, this is treason against the American people, because he promised that he's going to stop, quote unquote, this war in 24 hours. Instead, he's escalating the situation to the point where America is going to supply Tomahawk missiles, and the Ukrainians, or the quote unquote American advisors, are going to shoot those missiles towards Russia, and those missiles can be nuclear tipped. I mean, this is sheer insanity. This is sheer stupidity on the part of this administration that's going to take us all into a nuclear war. And that's why I'm talking about this mid-December time turning point, because it's going to be a significant event, and perhaps what's going to happen, they do shoot the Tomahawk missiles. If you want to take it to the next level, if you want to take it to the level of being crazy, perhaps they're going to attempt a decapitation strike against Russia. I mean, that's next level crazy, but I wouldn't put it past this administration and the way they've been behaving and the way they've been talking. It's completely un-American. I think everyone would agree with me that we as Americans want absolutely nothing to do with any of this, but that's the situation, or that's the direction that the current administration is driving us towards, okay? So imagine a scenario, whether it's attempted decapitation strike against Russia, or they begin to shoot Tomahawk missiles into Russia. And it's gonna happen. Mark my words, okay? I'm gonna eat craw if I'm wrong, but mark it. There's gonna be absolutely no result coming out of this particular meeting between Trump and Putin. They're going to walk away on opposite sides of the aisle, and that means something big is coming, okay? So Trump will want to show how tough he is, and he's going to do something. What Russia does in return, that's what counts, okay? So are they going to, well, once again, depending on what the administration will do, are they going to launch a nuclear weapon towards an American base? Are they going to strike directly back at the United States? I don't know. But whatever it's going to be, it's going to spook the markets big time. I talked about in my previous videos. VIX shoots up, the markets collapse. That's what's coming up in the middle of December. So it's going to be very interesting to, well, unfortunately, it's not going to be very interesting because all of our lives is at stake. The only positive out of all of this is the fact that, at least according to our calculations, the time is not yet right for an all-out nuclear strike. But whatever's going to happen is going to be really, really bad. So watch it, middle of December. So Paul Kirk-Roberts basically indicating that, you know, Trump-Putin meeting in Hungary is the last chance for peace. I would essentially agree with him, but I think they're so far apart on different sides of this that no peace is possible at this point. I don't think they're going to agree to anything. Now, you have to take a certain factor into consideration. So for the United States, it's not only this administration. We're talking about the survival of the United States and its continuation as hegemon of this world, correct? This assures the quality of life that we as Americans enjoy. But in order for us to continue to do so, we do need to win this war against Russia, and we do need to win this war against China. The problem is they've pushed it to such an extent, the powers in charge, right? I don't even want to talk about Republicans or Democrats. It really doesn't matter. If you haven't figured that out yet, it doesn't really matter. We are all stuck on the same ship, and the ship is going down. Not only because of the amount of debt that is involved, but because the powers in charge have pushed this to a red line with Russia and have pushed over that red line. We should actually thank God that we have somebody like Putin in charge on the other side, because anybody else would have responded, and would have responded with nuclear weapons a long time ago. Okay? So we're driving down this cliff, and most Americans are unfortunately unaware of the situation, what's going on. So I would agree that this is probably the last chance, but I don't see them agreeing to anything. As you just witnessed in Israel and Gaza, whatever Trump says is complete nonsense. Peace that was supposed to last 1,000 years, according to Mr. Trump, has only lasted probably less than 48 hours, right? They're back at it again. So whatever coming out doesn't really matter. What's important is that this is the direction of the United States government. Whether it's Republicans or Democrats, doesn't really matter. And the direction is they want the destruction of Russia, they want the destruction of China, so they can take over the resources and use it, continue to be the world power, pay off the debt, whatever. Well, debt that's never going to be paid out. But you know what I'm trying to say in the game that they're playing. The risk here is that Russia is not Iraq, Russia is not Iran, Russia is not Afghanistan or the Czech Republic. It is a nuclear power with 8,000 nuclear weapons that can be used against the United States. It's sheer insanity. I don't understand the people who are responsible for this, that they don't understand that they're playing with fire, and eventually this fire is going to get out of control, and we're all going to suffer because of that. Especially if you take our overall forecast into consideration, and the fact that our mathematical work clearly indicates there's going to be a nuclear exchange between Russia and China alliance and NATO. and the world as we know it, particularly the northern hemisphere, will cease to exist. Okay? So, a bit of a rant there. Putin-Trump summit signals Zelensky may be running out of leverage. It has nothing to do with Zelensky. It has everything to do with the United States and the proxy war. They're driving this bus and they want to go, or they're going to go where they want to go. Okay? A little bit of a good news. So take a look at this man. This man is a hero. He refused to essentially blow up defenseless, as Trump would put them, cocaine runners that running boats from Venezuela all the way to the United States, even though we can all very easily determine it's nothing more than fishermen. So head of U.S. Command in Central America leaves amid strikes against cartel boats or fishermen boats, right? Or whatever, pleasure boats. But I assure you one thing, they're not killing any cocaine runners right next to Venezuela, who have boats that can only go 200, 300 miles maximum. And to reach the United States, it's 1,500 miles, something similar to that. So anyway, this man doesn't want to be involved in killing civilians, doesn't want to be involved in starting this war with Venezuela that is apparently in the works, and something's going to happen over the next couple of days, perhaps a couple of weeks. And this is yet again another stain on American history. Let's put it that way. Let's see what else. Of course, as is expected, if the United States to go into war with Russia or Venezuela or Iran or any other number of players that we're talking tough against, a lot of reporters were kicked out of Pentagon because they rejected to sign new rules. And new rules essentially indicates that there is only a certain number, let's read. According to New York Times, the request for Pentagon press badge went from signing one page of rules policy to whopping 21 pages detailing what reporters can and cannot do. So this is very, very simple. Freedom of speech, freedom of reporting. And what are they hiding? Well, you know what they're hiding. They're taking us to war, okay? And they don't want any sort of dissent against them in press, and of course with the American people. They don't want anybody speaking the truth. They don't want anyone disclosing what's really going on. They just want this bravado, freedom, democracy for everyone who's not willing to commit to the United States, right? So they're taking us to war, and that's one of the ways to do it. This is a signal. This is a very clear sign of what's about to happen. So let's see. So Venezuela mobilizing troops and militias as U.S. military looms offshore. So according to, and this is the boat, this is the apparent cocaine runners that they're blowing up, right? Yeah, my taxpayers' money at work. Wonderful. Anyway, so according to Trump, this is going to be an easy job, easy regime change. But if we study history, if we know anything from history, it is far from a foregone conclusion. We know that many wars have started in a less certain situation than what this is. I don't think their government is going to fall. I think Maduro is going to have quite a bit of Venezuelan support. And I think U.S., if they do decide to attack, I think it's going to be a very stupid decision, oil or not. It's going to get itself sucked into yet another conflict that we're going to lose, hundreds, if not thousands of our servicemen, billions, if not trillions of dollars. And there's going to be absolutely no benefit out of it for us regular Americans, right? But obviously for corporations and people who are involved in that military-industrial complex certainly will benefit, but not your middle America, okay? So a bad situation, okay? Let's see, and if you kind of saying this guy is cuckoo predicting a nuclear war, well, you're not following events as closely as you should. Let me just put it that way. And I'm not the only one who's disclosing this. The only difference, I'm actually telling you when the nuclear exchange is going to happen. So once again, summer of 2029. Most other people don't have any idea. They see it's coming, but they're not sure exactly when it's going to come. But I'm giving you the exact timeline. But Whether you're talking about Musk and Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel has a big compound there in New Zealand, Zuckerberg in Hawaii, Elon Musk, I don't know, he's trying to leave the planet, as I jokingly say, before all of this happens. But it's coming down the pipeline, so the smart people are preparing, smart countries are preparing. Too bad it's going to be in Sweden, because Sweden's not going to escape. It's going to be an ice sheet when it's all said and done. You probably don't want to be there anyway because of nuclear winter. We talk about all of that in our book that's coming out and dropping next week. I'll let you guys know. But walking away from all of this, just be aware that we are in a very bad situation. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about the evil that has taken over our government, and God will have its judgment on all of us. And that judgment is coming in relatively short order. And if you want to escape it, the only thing you can do at this juncture is to avoid it, be prepared, and C, hopefully help others, and then obviously help humanity rebuild and prosper thereafter. So that's it for today. Unfortunately, I don't have any good news for you other than it's Friday and it's going to be a nice weekend, hopefully for all of us, or all of you listening to this video. Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful weekend ahead, and bye-bye.